This is where the fun begins.
Are you sure? So be it. Did you miss me?
Go with the Queen to Naboo and discover the identity of this Dark Warrior. This is the clue we need to unravel the mystery of the Sith.
May the Force be with you.
Go with the Queen to Naboo and discover the identity of this Dark.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, OG Star Wars. I am your host, Alora Baga. How are you guys doing? Where's my coffee? Oh, crap. I left my coffee on the counter. Holy crap. We can't have a show without my freaking coffee. Holy crap. All right. Let me see. I'm going to go run and get it, but I'm going to go ahead and see who's all hopping in the chat before I go run and get it. Or maybe you guys can... I'm gonna pull a raging rhino and give you guys something to watch while I go run and do something real quick. All right, so check this out.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave One, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
Okay, I got all is right in the world, and we can now officially begin CAF Chat. How are you guys doing? So OG away. So how about the droid attack on them Wookiees? That's funny. All right, so welcome. Thank you for tuning in to our Thursday morning Star Wars lore chat, CAF Chat. And, we also go over some cringe factor and, current Star Wars news that maybe need to have some focus on or have a discussion or whatever you want to call it, or just to bring to light. And if you are catching the replay, thank you so much for coming in and watching. Please like that. Hit that like button. I was going to say like that like button. Yeah, you can like it and then click it, hit it, smash it, whatever you want to do with it. And then from there, let me know you were here by commenting below. Thank you guys again. Holy heck. So if you guys didn't know, I, was a guest on Dark Council last night. It's been a long time since I've hung out with them on Dark Council. So that was quite fun, quite interesting as well. I got to watch the Acolyte trailer for the second time, which was the second time too many. I woke up a little late today, so I'm not coming on camera, so I'm still in pajamas. So you have your Alora, your host here, still in pajamas. Forgot about her coffee. Now I have my coffee, and all is right in the world. I'm cozy. And so that was that was fun, and it was interesting to discuss things about the current state of Star Wars and George Lucas and stuff. And if you have noticed that I had a impromptu live, and I did invite Tusk and Bob, and we discussed that statement George made out about his stock and who he's going to vote for, back for the current board, elections that are coming up. And that was a stir and tizzy in itself. That was very interesting to see everything go down after that statement was dropped. And the greater Star Wars community, or whatever you want to call it, how their reaction is with it. I may have disappointed some people about not, going and jumping and saying, George ruined my life now, what have you. I don't believe that. I have my own beliefs on this man is just looking out for himself and his family. And, he's always had that stock since he had sold. So why are we getting into a tizzy now when, even as he had the stock, all these other decisions were made that no one agreed with, but no one really said, oh, it's George's fault because he has this stock and he could control and change it. Now, all of a sudden, this is what is being said. But we're not going to discuss this, but I just wanted to recap on that. Whatever your feelings are pertaining to George having stock and being a shareholder and stuff like that, it's been like that since he sold. And, he has liked Disney for a very long time. Very, very long time. So, but I am excited to hear what Tim has to say on his on the spacing tonight. I will definitely be in the chat. So, and supporting and discussing it through the chat as well. So the spacing is tonight at 8:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I believe that's the time he put on there. I believe he didn't announce that it's going to be, later or sooner. So go with me over there in the chat, hang out, let's chat about that and hear what he has to say. I don't think he's going to have us panelists on this Friday, so I'll definitely be in the chat. Let me see who's in the chat right now. So thank you, Darth Ghostface, member for 6 months. So this is a member chat. If you become a member, this is one of the little, perks you get. You get these like little member chats. I think it's once a month or something like that. Won't be able to watch this week's stream live as I am going out today for my 25th birthday. Happy birthday to you. I'll catch you later on the replay, Alora. I hope you have a good day. Yes, I am having a good day other than forgetting my coffee, my calf. But all is right now. All is right. All is right. So happy birthday to you. Enjoy your 25th. You're a quarter within your life. That's pretty cool. Enjoy your day. And Melissa Lord, another channel member, is here. Hey, girl, OG Star Wars. Hey, how are you doing? Good. And then Gordon McDonald. Hello, Laura and chat. And yes, smash that like button. Smash the. Smash the High Republic like button. I had to say that because that's where my mind went. And morning, you all. So thank you again to Soul Assassin for dropping in and modding as always. And today's topics, I went on my little thing about, the current state of Star Wars, basically, being on Dark Council and discussing that a little bit. And then forgetting my coffee. The adventures still happen with me. There's always something happening with me when it comes to this channel, when it comes to our CAF chats and stuff. So I hope you guys find it amusing. So, yeah, so something's always happening. But thank you again, Soul Assassin, for, coming in and modding and all this other stuff. And, I've been sharing my frustrations with him on the state of Star Wars fans as of lately, when it is so fucking crazy. We'll get into that later. But today's topics are, since I'm rambling again, is we're going to discuss the rise of the Sith. That means Plagueis, Tenebrous, and then of course Palpatine. They are the ones that really gave the focus of the rise of the Sith and coming and revealing themselves in their plot, basically the revenge of the Sith. The revenge of the Sith. My cat is licking my plates. Go on. Okay. All right. So basically the revenge of the Sith. So, and what really happened, what was being said about the Sith during the time on how they should act or be in plain sight. We'll discuss all of that. And then we'll get into cringe factor. Now, cringe factor is the main title here for this today's live stream. And basically I have to pull, let me go ahead and pull this article up. Let me get out of the screen here, and then I'll continue to say hello to everybody. I haven't made it through the chat yet. You know me, I like to make it through the chat. I like to see what you guys are talking about and getting involved. That's what this is about. So basically, the title of this basically is Star Wars new TV show looks like everything I want from George Lucas's prequel. I think, is this the right one? Let me see. Oh, yes, it is. So that's the title. But they're also saying Acolyte already looks better than the Star Wars prequels. They're already saying that they are their concepts are way better than what George has been doing. So this article is pure cringe factor article here. And the reason why I played that small clip of the Phantom Menace, where they were sending Qui-Gon off on a mission to protect Padme and investigate some further about the Dark Warrior, about that potential Sith. It's because people are denying that the fact that in the Phantom Menace, the council believed Qui-Gon and that they needed to investigate, and that's what they did. They're saying that they didn't believe Qui-Gon, they ignored him, and they didn't do anything about the Sith. That's what these people who are defending Acolyte are saying. And so I played that clip because that's in light of that. That's in lieu of that. And then we have Luke in the chat. Hey, all. And then let's see here. Who else is bouncing in? Let's see here. Luke says, no coffee. What is this? I know. We almost had to cancel the whole damn show. No coffee. Holy shit. Yeah. Thank goodness that it was. I just left it on the counter, you know? Let's see here. Jim the Despot is here. And you guys like and share the stream out. Let everybody know that we are live. We have about 10 beautiful souls here. Thank you for tuning in this morning. I know it's like at an odd time of the day for most people, and I greatly appreciate you coming in and hanging out. The Geek Blend says, good morning. Here listening while I'm working. Thank you so much. So listen while you work. Oh, God. So I went there. Snow White. Okay. That just popped into my head when I read that. That's what happens to me sometimes when I read someone's comment or someone says something and it's relatable to a stupid song, pop culture song or whatever. I will start singing it in my head or singing it out loud. Force push the like. Yes, force push that like. Bop it. Haha. I know you guys are laughing at my thing about my like. Yes, that was a pretty good one. And Tuscan Bob Greg, I just love how he breaks things down, all of that. And then also he speaks, there's no bullshit. There's no bullshit when he comes to speak about things like this and his own opinion. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He's very raw and very honest with how he thinks about things. So I greatly appreciate that. And that may piss off a lot of people. I don't care. I'd rather someone come in, speaking the truth and being honest about things, than someone coming in sugarcoating, grifters. Okay. It is disappointing. Let's see here. All right. Let's see who else is coming out. Today's Thursday, not Friday. Did I say it was Friday? Because I was just discussing like this damn time change. Like I'm still wide awake at certain, like in the evening time when because of the time change, because we spring forward in the time. And once we start winding down on the week, I am, confusing my days. I've always confused my days. That's always been something I've done since I was really little. It's like, I know that either the day or the date, either or. And then Mr. Dystopian, hello. Red Hoodwinked. I'm just gonna think optimistically about it and say it's helping him take care of his family, and that's the thing. So, all right. It's funny how many times Lucino need you. Blah, blah, blah. Slow down. It's funny how many times Lucino used the phrase "Revenge of the Sith" in his prequel or his Plagueis novels, right? And that's what I'm doing. I tend to revisit original EU lore pertaining to the era that Disney is presenting with their shows. Like the Bad Batch, I'll go back and review events that happened in that time frame, like Darth Lord, Rise of Darth Vader, or some of the Commando novels, and so on and so forth. When it was Ahsoka, of course, you're gonna, I went over like X-Wing series and Prequel Trilogy and all that stuff that happened during that time frame. Because, why not go back and revisit that time frame that Lucas is, I wouldn't say mirroring, because they're not complimenting it whatsoever. But Lucas is, pinning their shows on, that timeline. And just to get a better hindsight, a better, and refresh the memory on what's going on during that time frame. So when you're discussing it and you're going to counter or compare and contrast, that your mind is fresh on details of that time. Because the lore, I wouldn't just say EU lore, but yeah, mainly the EU lore, but the Star Wars history, the Star Wars lore is so big and vast. There's so much going on in it because it's a huge historical timeline, I guess you could say, that one needs to go back and just pin that one era down, that one time frame down, and to refresh the mind. So that's what I do. And Mr. Dystopian says there's a lot of cope when it comes to the Acolytes trailer downvotes. I was watching that. I think it's hilarious, but you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. So we already know we don't need the Acolyte trailer with its down and up votes ratio to vilify that it's not being well received. We don't need that. It's just the state of Star Wars in general that people are just tired of now. It's their stuff. And Luke says it's 4 p.m. here in UK here. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I remember when I stayed in Italy for almost a month. Yeah, that was like a 9-hour difference from where I live. Eagle Riders here. What's up? How are you doing? Been quite a while since I caught you online. I hope you are well this morning. Yes, I am, and hope you are doing well too. And you're feeling good, feeling okay. Maybe working on some art. Gordon McDonald says that's why it's good to always take down notes when reading the EU. Correct. And I used to annotate a lot. Some of the novels now I'm not even touching and annotating anymore. And I know like Stig and when we were friendly with each other, I guess you could say, he used to tease me about that. And so, but I love annotating. So now I use like Post-it notes and all of that and mark the pages. If you see my Reader's Companion, that damn thing is falling apart. The binding is not good on that. So the quality of binding is not good. That's why it's falling apart. And there's so much like use in it. It's starting to fall apart even more. But within that, I do have stuff that are outlined. I do have Post-it notes marking pages and details and stuff like that. Even in that, that's my source book. So Soul Assassin says, I bet they don't know how. Oh, I bet they don't know that there was only 30 Sith Lords in the Rule of Two, or it was nearly destroyed by Darth Gravit. Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to get into that. And we might as well just start discussing a bit of the lore right now, since, this is a good segue. I'm still going to go in and say hi and read your chats and stuff. But the Rise of the Sith. What do you guys know about the Rise of the Sith? Now, this is not no title of a book or anything. This is just basically the Sith revealing themselves, getting ready to reveal themselves. They are placing themselves in important positions of authority. So if you read Plagueis, the novel, Darth Plagueis, the novel, I'm just saying Plagueis, but it's Darth Plagueis, the novel. The whole thing is how they will gain their power to gain control over the galaxy and destroy the Jedi. And that's inserting them into high key areas of the galaxy, like being a chancellor, control of the money, all of that, which is very brilliant. You know, a lot of Sith, we're trying to gain control like in the past with sheer violence, war, and taking over by just the sheer force of, their power. Not going within the structure and convincing people to take their side in a way, I guess you could say. And Palpatine is the heir to that, is the heir to what Tenebris and to what Plagueis were setting up. He is the heir to that. He strategically followed his master, did what he did, and then when the time was right, he killed his master, and he says, I'm not going to be your puppet. Brilliant shit. Brilliant shit. And Eagle Rider says, working hard. Okay, good. Gordon McDonald's, hello, Eagle Rider. I'm glad that you guys are addressing. I love, sometimes I won't click on it. Sometimes I'll move past it. Sometimes I'll accidentally click on it, and sometimes I'll bring it up because I love how you guys are interacting with each other and with me and all this stuff. This is like our little time to chat about Star Wars and what have you, and really just talk amongst ourselves and all of that. I love it. Okay, Solo Sen says the Secret Jedi Source Book. Yeah, the source book. And speaking of books, and I was going to show it with you guys, but I don't really want to come on camera because I'm not presentable whatso friggin' ever. But I did get my Rebel Alliance source book. You know, I am going to. So again, I'll put you guys on a commercial thing here. I'm going to do Raging Rhino. And let's see here. What should I play for you guys while I run and get it? Shadows Command. Vector Prime is always a good one.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure if this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
All right, so here we go. Now, I'm warning you, I don't have no makeup on. My hair is like all in a bun on the side of my head, all of this other stuff. And I still got my t-shirt. I'm still pajama-wise, but it's presentable. I'm presentable still, or I wouldn't be showing myself. So let me go ahead and turn on the camera here. I don't have any lighting on or anything like that. But here we go. I highly recommend this book. This is Weston Games. I highly recommend it. And this has not only does it have all the organizations within the Rebel Alliance, their military organization, all of that, leader organization, all of that, Alliance intelligence, all of that. It also talks about the Corellian Treaty and the former declaration of the rebellion. That's a good one too. Regrouping Atravis. It has a lot of good information. So if you are curious to know how the Rebel Alliance became organized, just like a year or two before the Yavin battle, this is a great source. This is a great source. And I was reading through this, and I have to be honest, it is some great stuff to read through. It is, and I'm going to say this is going to be controversial. Well, no, I don't call it fucking controversial. Okay. It is fact. This is better than what the Andor show has shared about the so-called budding rebellion. So I thought this was very interesting. Like even Mon Mothma's speech in here, even everything presented in here, all of that. Very, very good. So I highly recommend this. I got the hardcover, and it was like $25, and that included shipping and handling. And I got it through Thrift Books, I believe. Yeah, Thrift Books. One of the main sites that I always recommend. I got it through Thrift Books. you can get paperback or you can get hardcover. I recommend if you can find a decent hardcover for a decent price, add it to your collection. Let's see here. So another source book here is for me to rely on. And Eagle Rider says modern journals don't stand up to consent or constant use as well as the old days ones did. Let me see here. Gordon says it was Plagueis who said it was time to reveal themselves. Right. And when he said that, though, I should have just clipped these clips to share with you guys. But like part of this this talk about when they were going to reveal, when they were talking about it, what was very interesting was they were biding time. He's like, we will reveal ourselves, but not right now. We must, basically, he says, and I'm paraphrasing, that they're going to be ordinary people, leaders, and they were well positioned to where they were, and to gain, high elite status, I guess you could say, if you want to call it that, but leadership status. We'll just call it leadership status, influencing. So they were well positioned into that. And he kept reminding Palpatine to not reveal who they are because it's very important with the timing. And this novel happened about 67 BBY. So this is like maybe, or even, so I would say this, it was like well within 100 years before the Phantom Menace. It goes into Plagueis' early life when he became a Sith and stuff, what happened and how he killed his family to gain wealth, basically. So that was very interesting. So I highly recommend this because you get an idea. And he talks about the Bane and the Rule of Two and how that formed and how he recognized that this will be one of the last times that you'll see the Rule 2 in being fully honored, I guess you could say. And then once you get to Palpatine, the Rule of Two structure starts to change significantly. So we start seeing the shift and change in the Sith order, I guess you could say, the Sith order. So that was very interesting as well. So this gives you a good guideline to how they were positioning themselves, and it took years, thousands of years to position themselves, right? They stayed on the down low, hid themselves. There was maybe some interactions where one Jedi was killed and it didn't look like it happened like by a Sith or by another Force user, what have you. But that was few and far in between. And but what they did is they really sat back and they studied the Jedi. And what's interesting is if you read Revenge of the Sith novelization, Yoda realizes that the Sith studied the Jedi and to keep up to date on their tactics and how they can defeat them. But yet the Jedi were, I guess you could say, complacent and only preparing to fight the Sith that they knew 1,000 years ago. So I thought that was very, very revealing. Does that mean that they were arrogant or what have you? No. They just didn't expect. They thought the Sith were extinct. They didn't think that they needed to prepare themselves for the Sith, let alone the Sith evolving. So that was a one in that sense, being caught off guard. Let me see what you guys have to say. Red Hoodwink says, I know the Rise of the Sith, but wasn't interested in the Sith enough to look into it. I'll have to look into it now. Yeah, so Darth Plagueis, I would say if you want to, recap during the timeline from 1,000 years back to up until the PT, Darth Bane trilogy, that era with those books. And then I think there's other little bit of bits and pieces to some stories in between. I know that I think there might have been some short stories too, but I'm sorry I can't really name them off. And then you have Darth Plagueis, you have Shadowhunter. Those are two that happen just right before and into the Phantom Menace. And that's something to look into as well. Let's see here. It's been so long since I've read the through the EU stuff. I need to delve into my stuff in my basement and refresh my knowledge. There you go. Get into it. Get into it. Get your EU books. Thank you so much for sharing that. You can find a lot that have non-legends labels. If you're looking for the young reader series to add to your collection, that's a great place to look up and save money, so you're not spending a lot of money that people are gonna be asking for from you on eBay and stuff, because those are not being reprinted. So get them while you can. Melissa Lord says, I have that book. I love those old source books. Yes. I love it. I was like, once it came in, I sat down and I was just like nerding out. I shared a few images on my Twitter. I don't think I shared any in the YouTube community page here. I'm not sure. I don't think I did. Star Wars Grand, what's up? Hopping in to say hello and have a great stream. Everyone like and sub. Yes, thank you so much for hopping in and saying hello and supporting the channel. Luke here, I need to read more EU. Thanks for the link. You are welcome. Well, yeah, you are welcome. Thank you, Soul Assassin. I think I could speak for him, right? Am I woman-splaining for you? You know how they say mansplaining? Am I woman-splaining for you? Christopher Barker is here. What's up? Hey, OG, I found a pile of books in the garage. And amongst the pile, I found Star Wars Jedi Quest, The Master of Disguise. Woo, okay, there you go. Yeah, dust that off and put it on your bookshelf. And or what's that? Ha ha ha. I don't know. And or what? And or what? The woke light people may be revealing themselves a lot. That's the thing. Is that and it's evident in our Cringe Factor article that I'll be presenting here soon. Because it's like they're trying so hard to defend the Acolyte. And then it's funny is that they'll say, you know, don't be talking about it. It's only the trailer. You don't know what's going on, blah, 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 blah. Like negatively talking about it. You don't know what's going on. But then they won't say that to people who are positively talking about coming up with theories and stuff like that. So there's that hypocrisy going on. It's quite funny in general. It's like, it's okay if you talk about it, if you talk about it in a positive way, but not in a negative way. Oh, we talking Plagueis. Yes, Plagueis. Yeah, we're talking about the Rise of the Sith, which involves Plagueis, Palpatine, Tenebris, and all of that. So, and like Soul Assassin said, within that 1,000 years of them atoning, hiding, whatever you want to call it, and making the Jedi think that they are extinct, there's only what 30 of them, 30. In the lineage of the rule of two, where there used to be thousands. And that's what kept them hidden and kept them out of the light of the Jedi, out of the sight, out of being known that they are still around. And that was brilliant. I believe Plagueis talks about the brilliance of that as well. That they couldn't hide if there was thousands of them. They couldn't, make the Jedi think they're extinct if there was so many of them. So, and here you have this Acolyte who is hinting on these Jedis, or not these Jedis, these Sith and stuff, and already revealing themselves. That's what's being hit, and that's hinted to, is that they are revealing themselves. And mind you, they could, if they did smart stuff like how Plagueis and Shadowhunter did when there was conflicts where they had to kill a Jedi, that it was a single one and then it was a cover up to make it look like it wasn't a Force user or anything like that. But the way that everything's being revealed by the creator and by by the trailer itself is showing that witnessing a Sith or the Sith, and this is like 100 years before the Phantom Menace, which really hurts the plot points in the Phantom Menace, let alone the prequel trilogy. And then Pyrrhus says, talks about the Sith spy network, correct? Political workings and whatnot set up by Bane. Yes, that's another thing too, is and this is where I'm like, it's like, it hurts my heart in a sense to know that we're not going to get anything now pertaining to that setup because, you know, who owns the company now. But just imagine, and we can only imagine these fucking what ifs. Like, you know, in that time frame, that thousand years, like, you know, after, you know, Bane died and the Rule 2 was enacted and stuff like that. You know, imagine, we can only imagine like these spy networks and all this planning and stuff, and all of this, everything that they're doing behind the scenes and stuff like that, would make great storytelling. Really great Sith eccentric storytelling. And, you know, and not really dealing with the Jedi per se, but positioning themselves in leadership, positioning themselves in areas to where they could slowly gain power, positioning themselves into learning how to defeat the Jedi. Like even Plagueis was saying, him and Palpatine were talking about the destruction of the Jedi, taking down the Jedi. And Plagueis is like, yeah, we need to have assassins to kill Jedi. Basically, I'm paraphrasing again. And Plagueis is like, or Palpatine's like, we can't all just do it all at once. And I need to clip this. I'm gonna fucking clip this and put this on Twitter. This is going to make the shills like crazy, but I don't give a fuck. And I think it's chapter 15. I'm not sure. But basically talk about, you know, killing the Jedi, like eradicating the Jedi. And Palpatine's like, we can't do it all at once right now, because then we'll be exposed. We need to plan this out in such a way where they don't suspect a damn thing. That's fucking brilliant. That goes into the PT. That rightfully goes into the PT, that, you know, they realize that if they started killing off the Jedi at this point in time, they'll be revealed. So I do need to clip that. Let me see what you guys are saying. I'm gonna scroll down. It's funny how Plagueis thought he would successfully co-rule with Sidious. Oh, Sidious is like, I ain't having this shit. I ain't gonna have this shit. I'm not gonna be your puppet. I am not gonna be your puppet. So if you first read this novel and you get to that point, and then you get to Palpatine basically killing his master, oh my god, all of this, like Lucino, man, hands down, brilliant work in this novel. I don't like that there was changes, like I don't think he willfully, I don't think he really wanted to change Maul's origins to fit TCW, because it's so bland during that time. It's so off. Once you get to that part where Maul is handed over to Palpatine, it feels dry. It feels like he didn't really want to write that. Like he didn't want to make that retcon, I guess you could say, make that change. But other than that, I mean, the brilliant writing showing how tactical these guys were, amazing, and kept coherent to the prequel trilogy, so it wouldn't damage anything that happened with it. But then again, George and Howard, was it Howard? Yeah, Howard Rothman, and Lucasfilm worked with him on constructing that novel in a sense and putting that novel plot together. Soul Assassin says, I wonder if they're going to show the Sith causing a rift in the Force for the Jedi to sense. It happened around the same time as the High Republic with Darth Tenebrous and his master. Yeah, I remember them talking about that too, about that rift and stuff like that. Let's see here. And I know that they recognize like early or closer to the PT timeline, closer to the Phantom Menace, which is 32 BBY, I believe. I'm like trying to remember. They realize that they cannot make any rifts. They have to catch them off guard. They need to stay hidden in the Force. Gordon says, remember when Plagueis drank wine through his nose? Of all things to bring up. Yes. That I think Acolyte prob's gonna be a mess through though. Yeah, it is. It's since when has Disney Lucasfilm ever kept continuity with the movies? They have not. And that's the problem. And that's why everybody is like, okay, so with their record and their history, we can already predict that they're not going to keep in continuity with what George established with the Phantom Menace. That's a given. That's a given. And if they prove us wrong, oh my God, I will be the first to admit that. But will I then say that Star Wars is saved? Fuck no. Soul Assassin says the book of the Sith handbook is good. Yes, that's another one. And does it make Star Wars better because one material may possibly keep in continuity? No. It doesn't mean it corrects everything else that came before and what they did. Star Wars Marvel Pure says, hey OG, off topic, but what is your favorite standalone EU novel trilogy and favorite of the post Return of the Jedi sagas? That's a lot. Between New Jedi Order, Legacy and Force and Fate of the Jedi. Oh, that is a friggin' lot. I was thinking of doing my top 10 favorites in the EU. This is going to be a tough one, and I could see where like Matt Wilkins was having a hard time. It's hard to decide because there's so much out there. There's so much out there. People in the chat, if you want to come in on this too and answer yours, that's fine. Standalone EU novel. Holy crap. I would say Kenobi. Trilogy and favorites of, okay, my favorite trilogy, like movie trilogy. Oh shit. There's only two. Unless you're talking about trilogy in the EU. Okay. I think you're talking about the EU, not movies. My favorite trilogy. I'm going to come back on that trilogy. And then post Return of the Jedi sagas between New Jedi Order, Legacy of the Force, Fate of Jedi. Oh. Legacy of the Force and New Jedi Order always switch back and forth to my favorite. They do. My trilogy right now, because that changes too. Right now I'm going to go with the Darth Bane. But I think the underrated trilogy is the Black, what's it called? The Black Fleet Crisis. I think that one is that is so underrated. And I think another underrated trilogy is the Corellian trilogy. And then you also have the Han Solo. This is so fucking hard. Why do you do this to me? Oh my God. Let me see here. All right. And like I said, New Jedi Order and Legacy of the Force are really close in my favorites. Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one between New Jedi Order and Legacy of the Force. I'll say New Jedi Order since it came first. It sets up everything else that comes after that. So I hope you guys got how hard it is to choose. Cloak of Deception is also right before the Phantom Menace. That's correct. That's correct. That's another one to get into. And Mr. Dystopian, in Filoni's Clone Wars, Order 66 was outright spelled out for them between the inhibitor chip Sifo-Dyas and Dooku's Sith name revealed, and they did nothing. Okay, so I've made this. I was researching the timeline of this era and the timeline of just Lucasfilm in general during this the PT era. What is funny is, or what is not funny, but maybe it is in a sense, but what is revealing is that the season 6 of the Clone Wars is done under Disney's ownership. People credit season 7 as solely being Disney's creation, but so is season 6. So when you go back and look at that, the inhibitor chip, that's a Disney thing. And there's an article that I read about 4 years ago about George saying that the inhibitor chip was never his idea. I have to fucking find it. I wish I would have archived it. I didn't archive it. Once I find it, I will be sharing that like crazy again. But basically, he talks about that, and that's not his idea. And then, even though his daughter was, credit for writing that, and it being her idea, I guess, I don't know. It wasn't his idea. Wasn't his idea. And then going into like, I totally forgot that they discovered that the clones were a product of eventually a product of the Sith. And so I stand corrected on that in a conversation I had on Twitter, because I totally forgot about season 6, that episode. I haven't watched Clone Wars in a very long time. But then again, what I stated here is that season 6 is a product of Disney ownership. So then you can say that this is Disney's reconstruction of what had happened during that time frame. So with that being said, it's Disney's bullshit. It's Disney's bullshit. So there we have it. So I'm going to get more into that once I find the article from George about the inhibitor chip and stuff like that. I think I want to discuss more of the details for season 6 being Disney product and not something that George wanted. Star Wars Marvel Purist says the Tenebrous Way is a direct prequel book in Plagueis, to Darth Plagueis, but I would suggest people read Plagueis first, then read Tenebrous way before you reread of Plagueis. You'll thank me later. Okay, yeah. I haven't revisited Tenebrous Way in a long time, so I'm probably gonna go ahead and pull that up and indulge in that as well. Like I said, all the books, and maybe I'll share it on Twitter or Soul Assassin if you want to go on to my Twitter, YouTube page and list all the books that are happening like before and around the Phantom Menace that correlate with the Sith Rising. Feel free to do that. I would greatly appreciate that. That YouTube page on Twitter is for everybody to go in and discuss George Lucas era of Star Wars. You could even discuss something you don't really care for. It's not about just being an echo chamber and just agreeing with everything with each other and stuff like that. We're all going to like some material in the greater EU or in the greater Star Wars lore. And there's some things that we're not going to agree on, and that's fine. We learn from each other through that. Red Hood Week says, thanks for the book suggestions, guys. Trying to write them all down. Let's see. I know you guys are all yapping away here. What did you say? Sent you some books of the Sith vids of in the DMs. Okay. I was wondering if Acolyte will show how the Jedi at the height of the power became more dogmatic, leading to the Phantom Menace. They got dogmatic, and it was more or less not dogmatic like when prideful, like they're the best kind of thing. Like some people are trying to say that they got arrogant because they think that their way is the best way. Blah blah. Not necessarily. They were dogmatic in like attachments, and they were dogmatic in how they were training and not allowing themselves to evolve, like the Sith allowed themselves to evolve. And that's one thing that really got them, is that the Jedi failed to evolve while the Sith was evolving. So, like I said, Yoda, revisited that in Revenge of the Sith novelization about how they prepare to fight the Sith of the old while the Sith were evolving and they didn't know about that. And that was one of their failings because they didn't know how to handle that. And that's really revealing as well. And Matthew Stover, another excellent writer there, especially for Revenge of the Sith. Holy crap. Check out that novel. I mean, it's not like around the time frame of, what that we're talking about, but man, and then him and Lucino working with George Lucas and creating these wonderful novels that really expand on and lead up into the prequel trilogy, and within it to give a broader scope of what is really going on and what was going on in the minds of these Sith, what was going on in the minds of these Jedi, all of that. Great stuff to read. Great stuff to read. That Asana trilogy would have been so interesting. I know. Just imagine that, because there's hints of what she was doing within the lore, right? There's hints of that. Now imagine that being expanded on in her trilogy and what was going on during that time, and then how they were going underground and all of this other stuff. That right there in itself, great stuff. Let me see here. Revan said too many Sith at once causes infighting and rivalries. Yeah, and that's where Bane got his idea from the Rule of Two, about the Rule of Two is from Revan. So we have this interconnected history here going on. Events that, that help, them evolve. Let me see here. Let me see what you guys. Soul Assassin, I'm checking the DMs. Power of the Sith book by Master are the mistakes of the Rusan, correct? And the titles of Darth. Yeah, thank you. If you want to, I don't know if you shared them in the chat, but if you want to share those links in the chat, that would be great. I'm still scrolling down, so if you did already, thank you. So Shadow Hunter here. Darth Bane. So you guys can cut and paste and get these links set on your browser so that, and save them in your history on your browser so you can go and return to them. And, but I recommend picking up the books. But if you're busy like me, and I know that the YouTube audiobook is full abridged or unabridged, or, the full version basically. I will put it on while I'm working around the house. I will put it on while I'm painting. I've been doing a lot of painting lately because I am working on having my own proposal to have my own art show. So, where I live at. So I'm busy. This is another thing why my channel has been growing slow with my own production, is because outside of this, I have these other goals that I want have my own art show and all this other stuff. And so I'm working on doing that shit. So, on top of, working, talking Star Wars with you and all this other stuff. So, Carlos, hello, how are you doing? What do you want to see from Acolyte? I'm not watching it. I don't want to see anything. Let's see here. What's going on, Keely? We are talking the Rise of the Sith. And what do you know about the time era of Plagueis, Darth Plagueis, before the Phantom Menace and the Sith during that time? And then good early morning from Hong Kong. Well, good morning to you. I hope you're relaxing and waking up and enjoying the show. Star Wars Marvel Pro says, not only does Plagueis' book connect and develop and enhance the Phantom Menace, but also sets up Attack of the Clones as well. Lucino's best works by far. Yeah, he even was able to have, when he written some of the earlier stories, like Darth Plagueis, and then also when I think it's Cloak of Deception, that's the prequel to the Phantom Menace, right? He was able to even get glimpses of Attack of the Clones stuff material. So he knew what was going on within that time frame. Lucino's best work by far. Yeah, Lucino had to make the prequel short to retcon Asajj and Maul, but that was doing George Tinner, not Disney. Yeah, I know. Yep. And that's one thing I don't agree with. Let's see here. And then let's go on here. Lucino is also somewhat retcon Jabba the Hutt. In the novel, he can carry on a fluent conversation in Basic with Plagueis without using a translator, despite never speaking Basic on screen of novels. Yeah. It's also said that he can. Like, even in the Han Solo trilogy, so I think the Han Solo trilogy came out before then. He could speak Basic, but that was beneath him. That's like he really that was disgusting. That was vile to him to speak Basic. So so I think he went off of that too as well. Han Solo trilogy, like I said, I think came out way before Lucino, before that. So let's see here. So keeping a bit continuity then? I don't know. But then again, why would he speak Basic if he... Oh, you know what? I think I remember even in Lucino's book that Jabba's like, I don't want to speak Basic, but he did. But I have to revisit that again. Star Wars Marvel Purist, I hear you. New Jedi Order and Legacy Force both very, very good. Yeah, that was a hard thing to decide there. But thank you. I'm like, oh my god, I have to decide. Blackfleet Crisis, there you go. Another one there. New Jedi Order for the W. Ha ha ha. New Jedi Order for the win. Whoop whoop. Yeah, there are some slow stories in there, but altogether, great development. But I know Lucasfilm learned their lesson on doing a 19-book series. They're like, nope, we'll just keep it at 9. Cut it at 9. That's it. Which was smart. And I think there was also some books that were cut out of the New Jedi Order series that never happened, right? So just imagine if they actually did happen, how long that series would have been. Holy crap. That 19, that's enough. Gordon says, remember when Plagueis and Sidious went to one planet, running around with herds of animals, bleeding them with knives and drinking their blood to absorb their energy life force? Yes, this was all Plagueis's, like, his experimenting and learning about midichlorians and all this other stuff. Yep. You remember the craziest things. You too. That's funny. The Clown Wars, you mean? Yeah, the Clown Wars. There you go, you guys. Like I said, get these links, share them so that you can go back and listen to them and stuff. But I highly recommend get the books, non-legends label, so you could build your library. Let's see here. That's right, too. He did speak Basic to Prince Caesar as well. Yes, he did. Awesome. And here's the community. I have to go in there. I haven't been in there in a while. I have to go see who is requested to be in there. So I'll take care of that. So if some of you guys are waiting and then you just got impatient and just decided not to be a part of it and unfollowed or unrequested, go back and request. I'm sorry. I forget that there's that and I have to go back and thin that request out. It says 20 plus on there. I'm sorry. Star Wars says, Marvel Pierce says, if you read Tenebrous way after, it makes you realize some questions you more likely asked yourself the first read of Plagueis. It sheds light on the reason for some of Plagueis's missteps. Yep, I agree. I agree. It's like I haven't visited Tenebrous in a while, but thank you for reminding me of that. Definitely will add that to my read list for this next month. In fact, let's go ahead and make that book of the week, Tenebrous Way. Tenebrous Way, book of the week. There we go. Funny how the Jedi can be caught by surprise by the Sith after they've been gone for a time. Similar events happened in the Old Republic when Sith fled Korriban and returned later with huge army. Yeah, and that's the thing. People don't realize that, especially for Force users, because not all Force societies were discovered either. And then when the Empire rose, like the Caldors, they hid themselves. because they knew that they could be hunted down, enslaved by the Sith. There's ways that they hid themselves, but we won't get into that. But so that's just an example. That's just an example. People don't realize that that these people, these entities can hide themselves from the Force, and the fewer there are, the easier it is to hide. Yeah, the fewer there are, the easier it is to hide. And that's something that Plagueis does, reflect on when it came to the rule of two. Huts choose to speak their own language, if only because they are so prideful. They are very prideful. The Huts are friggin' very prideful. Books of the Sith audio. Thank you so much. Again, copy and paste these, save them, and then try to find them to add them to your collection. Reading novels hurts my head for some reason, but not comics. Weird. So I like the audios. Oh, okay. Too much words, huh? No, I'm joking. Let's see. We're coming up on the hour. We're actually past the hour here. So we need to get into our cringe factor, but I'm going to finish reading here. So anybody else, I'm going to read through here. Anybody else want to add to Rise of the Sith and add more conversation before we segue into our next part of the program here? Christopher Barker says the Tenebrous Ways collected in Star Wars Fiction Collection Volume 1. I'll make a note to get that. Let's see here. And I binge Star Wars books on Audible when I am decorating the house for Halloween and Christmas, usually the Bane trilogy. That's pretty cool. You're like, it's that time of year, Bane trilogy. I get it. It's like, there's certain things like outside of Star Wars too. There's certain things that I binge watch when I know that I'm getting ready for the holidays and stuff, and it doesn't have to pertain to the holidays whatsoever. But I know the series or I know the show so much that I can listen to and know what's going on without having to really watch and pay attention. And those are the fun ones because then you know what's going on, and it's always fun to listen to and all that. Let me see here. And think about it. Jabba understands everything Luke said in. Let me see. I know you're saying more out. Okay. Here it is. Think about it. Jabba understands Luke in Return of the Jedi, and yet he doesn't speak Basic. Huts consider themselves superior. Why would they want to speak the language of those lesser than them? And that's the thing. That's one of the things that he touches on. Let me see. Demont says, OG Star Wars, out of curiosity, what tribe are you ethnically from? I am a citizen or a member of the Rosebud Sioux tribe in South Dakota. I have a huge family clan we call Tioche Baye that also extends into like Pine Ridge and Standing Rock and up into Canada. And then I'm also Southern Ute and Apache, which is my mother's side, and I don't know very much about because I was raised by my paternal side of my family. And then I'm also Filipino with a bit of French and Spanish. So that's me. So let's see. Think about it. Jabba understands Luke in... I already read that. Let's see here. OG Star Wars, also a Native American Indian. Do you see any Indian inspiration in Star Wars with Lucas-based culture species of? Not really. People want to say, oh, well, the Tusken Raiders are based upon them. That I think is kind of bullshit. But I think that people can see hints culture-wise or religious-wise or spiritual-wise in everything that George did, because he went and was influenced by different cultures. And he talks about, being influenced by Japanese cultures. He talks about being influenced by Westerns, and stuff like that. But I could just relate into Star Wars without relating into any ethnicity of a character, if that makes sense. I don't think George was too focused on ethnicity more than relatable in experience and what you see, visuals. Most aliens can speak Basic but choose not to. Yeah, unless they don't have the proper vocal cords. I think the Ithorians can't speak Basic unless they have a speaking mechanism that would help him. Star Wars Marvel Pure says the meeting between Plagueis and Jabba is awesome. Plagueis thinks to himself about all the huts he had experimented on. Yeah, that book covers so much. Darth Plagueis is such a dense book, but in a good way, not a dense and like, oh god, it's tedious to read. There's so much going on in there. You really see them setting themselves up, to take control of the galaxy. And that's even with the huts and stuff, because if they can be work with them in tandem with them, whatever, they're still going to have somewhat control, right? Yeah, Plagueis came very close to immortality. Yes, that was his thing. Fun fact: Lucino was also the story runner, I guess you would call it, of the New Jedi Order, head writer, story outline, etc. Yeah, another one right there. Another one right there. More reasons why the EU was canon. The DVD of the Clone Wars 2003 said the saga continues. Mm-hmm. And that even says on like Heir to the Empire or the Thrawn trilogy. It says on there too. Let's see here. I'm really not getting into this cringe factor, but we'll get into this. I'm pretty sure you guys don't mind. Darmont says Tenebrous and Plagueis prove that not all Sith lords and masters are evil. Many of them are just philosophy-loving, wise intellectuals who desire knowledge. They are friggin' evil, but their evilness is not that of like destroying and killing people and so that they have sole power and control the galaxy. Their evil is coming into the structure of gaining power through manipulation of people's minds and thoughts and getting control of them that way. And was discussed in Darth Plagueis' novel as well, is how are they gonna gain control? Well, through manipulation, through the weak-minded people. And that's what they did. That is evil in itself. That's another type of evil. Plagueis had a thought about ordering Jabba the Hutt to capture Queen Amidala when they were stranded on Tatooine. There you go. Yep. That book, like just talking about that book and that, like the Rise of the Sith, just through that book in itself, that's a whole that's a whole fun topic in itself. There's a lot going on in there, like I said, and in a good way. Let's see here. Rodimus Prime, hello. Also, the Clone Wars 203 feature is called The Bridge in the Saga. The saga equal, yes, exactly. The Sand People. You remember that? Because of the stupid Book of Boba Fett. And then people are like, you should be proud and da-da-da. Like, and down talking me because I didn't see it that way and I thought it was an insult and stuff, and then down talking me because I'm a native, I should conform to their white knighting and stuff like that. It's fucking bullshit. All killer, no filler, no member berries, all things that enhance the saga and the EU. There you go. Doesn't the 2014 Kenobi novel try to make out that Tusken Raiders as Native Americans? No, not really. No. It gave us more insight to what was going on and why they are thinking the way they're thinking and how they see the settlers. So, but that's how I read that. OG Star Wars, Tusken Raiders, if anything, are based upon the Middle Eastern North African nomadic tribes. They have like their coverings and all this kind of go into that as well. I don't think they're based upon that, but they were inspired by like how people who live in those areas keep themselves covered and stuff like that. And then here you go, another one. Be talking about right now. Yeah, that right there. I can't wait to see, be in the chat for that. Let me see here. So let's get into our next. Let me pull up the article here first. Oh yeah, it's there. There we go. I just gotta. So let's get into our next portion of the live stream here, a segue into cringe factor. So you guys, I think you guys are not going to like this, and that's fine. You know cringe factor. You know cringe factor. So let's go ahead.
Prepare yourself for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. The evil Empire has struck back with a vengeance, and a new villain, the crime lord Shizor, schemes to replace Darth Vader as the Emperor's second-in-command. With Han Solo held frozen in carbonite by bounty hunter Boba Fett, it's the rebellion's darkest hour. Now, join Jedi warrior Luke Skywalker, hard-charging Chewbacca, and go undercover with heroic pilot Dash Rendar and his booming Outrider. But can Han Solo be freed and Shizor be stopped? Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. Look for the authentic figures and vehicles from Kenner.
So uncivilized.
So uncivilized. Civilized. Oh, wow. There goes my voice. I couldn't even speak it. Let me see. I'm going to go on this side here. There we go. That's better. All right. So let me go ahead and scroll to the top on this booga here. So this is your cringe factor here. And of course, why not just go into what's being said against the PT when it comes to Acolyte? Why not? Because, that's what cringe factor is pulling, bringing up all these crazy fucking topics and stuff like that on anti George Lucas era stuff and getting into it. So this is by Liz Declan. Star Wars new TV show looks like everything I want from George Lucas prequel. So this is her opinion article, because she's basically given her opinion in the title, like how she's going to give her opinion. Star Wars, the Acolyte, Star Wars, the Acolyte, Star Wars next Disney Plus TV show has already shown that while it won't replace the prequels, it will certainly enhance them. Okay, so does the prequels need to be enhanced? This is what is being said with TCW. TCW came out to enhance, came out to correct, or whatever the lingo is said for that. So now they're using the same bullshit script that they use for TCW to say it's correcting, it's enhancing, what have you, the prequels. Now they're doing it with this. But does the prequels need enhancing, correcting, what have you? Does it really need that? Let me see what you guys are saying before I scroll down. The title itself's already cringe, right? Let's see here. I say British because Canadian's head of state is King Charles. Oh, I guess. I'm in a conversation. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. That's okay. So, whoops, wrong button. So here we go. So this is what she's saying. She's saying the show is looks like everything I wanted from George Lucas's prequels. What the hell? Oh, so we'll find out what she wanted, because honestly, George down the rise of the Sith, the fall of the Jedi. So they have the summary thing that they've been doing as of within the last 6 months that I've noticed. So these are the points. Star Wars, the Acolyte is already set to enhance the prequel trilogy by uncovering the Jedi Order's downfall. But wasn't that already done in the prequels? The Acolyte aims to deepen Jedi history and show their flaws, preparing the way for the prequels while offering unique insight distinct from them. The prequels are already set in stone, so how is this preparing the way for the prequels? And deepen Jedi history? You mean continue to make the Jedi look like idiots? Because that's, if you go back to the High Republic and you go even forward into the Disney trilogy, and you look at the history of how Disney, Lucasfilm, is treating the Jedi Order in general, no matter if it's 1,000 years in the past or 100 years in the future from the OT. The Jedi are complete imbeciles. They're really the bad guys. They're making them out like idiots, incompetent. Instead of just having some flaws that, some basic flaws that the Sith took advantage of. No, they're making it like, oh, it's the Jedi's, it's the Jedi's fault for the Sith rising. Not really. And they're so arrogant and they're so crooked. So, and you'll see a lot of people who love Disney, Lucasfilm, Disney, Star Wars. You'll see a lot of them now discussing how bad the Jedi are. But when you look into all of this in the perspective of George Lucas and George Lucas era, the Jedi were victims as well as the whole fucking galaxy. Everyone was manipulated by Palpatine and earlier by Plagueis and then also Tenebris, because they positioned themselves in power without revealing who they were or are. Does that mean that the Jedi are flawed? No. I already got to see what you guys are saying on this. Oh, we're still here on the same one here. Oh no, you guys are chopping. It's fine picking up for me. In the EU, didn't Luke reform the Jedi Order? Kind of. A lot of things that he still had in place was still the order, still mirrored the order from the PT era. The only thing that's where was truly changed was the attachments, getting married, and I think that's the biggest one that I've noticed. They still, communicated and, worked alongside the government like the PT era Jedi did. They still, like people, because they were a budding order, masters and knights, like if knights qualified for it, could have more than one Padawan. So that's the difference. But there's minor differences, but in the end, it's relatively still the same as the PT era. Like the dogmatic attachment was changed, and just little minor things. Well, the Acolyte is a prequel to the prequels. I guess you can say it paves the way. Not necessarily, in a sense. It doesn't set them up because they're already set up. What we see in the movies is already set up. They have to then complement it, I guess you could say. Let's see here. OG Star Wars, that's still a big change, kind of like in the Pope of Rome said the clergy could get married. It's not a significant big change in a sense, because even pre PT era, because they talk about in Darth Plagueis novel, at one point the Jedi allowed marriage and families. So you have that. So again, I highly recommend Darth Plagueis novel. It gets into that as well. So and then once we get to the PT era, some relationships and stuff were still allowed. And there's so many differing cases and stuff like that. So let's see here. Since TCW, they were trying to paint Jedi and bad light. Yeah, I think I pointed that out too on Twitter like 2 days ago, I think. OG, what's your thoughts on George Lucas saying there was never a war between the Jedi and the Sith? He actually did say there was. So that quote, and then him talking about the Jedi defeating the Sith. And I'll share that here on my community page here on Twitter and on Twitter and here on YouTube. So he does recognize that there was a Jedi Sith war, and I have proof on that. Or the Dalai Lama allowed the monks to get married. Marriage was always allowed. Just the PT era, they started going against it for the fear of attachment and what that brings. So there's that. So again, read Darth Plagueis. You'll get more into that. All right. So let's get into this. Let me see here. I don't know if I want to read this whole article here. Let me see here. It says many are anticipating it. Well, look at your downvotes on the thing there. But okay, so we'll get right here. We'll start right here. The Acolyte is telling a similar story to and setting up the prequels. So let's get into this. The Acolyte isn't so much in competition with Star Wars prequel trilogy as it is laying the foundation for what follows in the movies. However, the two have parallels that make comparisons inevitable. Like the prequel trilogy, the Acolyte will offer more insight into the history of the Jedi, including their mounting flaws and cracks in the system. The Acolyte is likely to show the beginning of the end of the Jedi Order with the tag of the show. I are in an age of light, darkness rises. Now, does that quote remind you of the Disney trilogy? Also, comparing this to Plagueis, and how it complements the Phantom Menace, going into the Phantom Menace. They didn't really show, like the cracks or the Jedi Order being flawed in Darth Plagueis. They were focusing on the Sith gaining power and not wanting to reveal themselves as of yet. And they talked about how they studied the Jedi so that they can defeat them. Now, is that showing cracks? Maybe then? Not necessarily. But what I'm getting with showing cracks and flaws this early, 100 years before the PT, they want to have some kind of conflict between the Sith and the Jedi. That's what I'm getting at. So I don't know if that's what you guys are getting at. That's what I'm getting with this. That's what I'm getting with this. Let me see here. No, it doesn't remind me of the sequels. You don't get that? Rise or darkness rise, light to meet it. Let's see here. Completing the final phase of the Sith grand plan before initiating it. Right. Exactly. In Plagueis. Right. That's the thing. So we're getting the brilliance of them completing their final phases of the Sith grand plan, Revenge of the Sith. And they're being very careful to not reveal themselves. And I'm going to keep repeating that. That's going to be the essence of this, is that they don't reveal themselves yet. The revelation of the Sith coming back into the galaxy, per how the Jedi seen them extinct, happens in the Phantom Menace. Yeah, look at the Krallian Jedi branch. Oh, the Dalai Lama allowed the monks to get married. Oh yeah, I read that one. OG, what's your thoughts on George Lucas saying there was? Oh yeah, I already read that. Okay, so I was just making sure. But yeah, so in Plagueis novel, it's their plan, the phases of their plan. The phases of the plan, they're talking back and forth about the Jedi, and but not wanting to reveal themselves just yet. So let's see here. Plagueis is figuring out which beings will make the best clones. He funds the clone army, correct? Dooku puts purchase of the clone army under Sifo Dyas's name, etc., etc. Yeah, and so we have that. And that's one thing that is very interesting. It's like in itself is Sifo Dyas influence that they did. How Plagueis meets with Sifo Dyas, and Sifo Dyas doesn't know he's a Sith. And Sifo Dyas, does have some foresight into the future. And so he foresees what's going on. And that's what kind of sparks his interest on trying to create an army to help the Jedi fight against this. And Plagueis jumps on that. And Sifo not realizing that he is, having a Sith involved and all this. So that's the brilliance of that. That is the fucking brilliance of that. And I think all Leslie Headland wants to do is have fights and conflicts, because she, even like if you read the interview that she does, she talks about how she loves martial arts and wants to, share that love in Acolyte. So she wants a lot of fight scenes. And that's what's going on. And it's a Sith story. So put 2 and 2 together, you guys. Put 2 and 2 together. So, and whoops, wrong button. The Acolyte isn't so much in competition with the Star. Oh, I read that part. So that's their high. She's highlighting that to, I guess, make a point. In contrast, the prequel movies show the end of the end, lining them up along the same continuum. Even so, it's clear that the Acolyte will be exploring deeper, if not better, the concepts that George Lucas set out to uncover in the Star Wars prequels. So again, Acolyte will be exploring deeper, if not better, the concept that George Lucas set out to uncover Star Wars prequels. So she's saying that this is going to possibly be better than what George was uncovering. What do you guys think about that? Do you really believe this person, this woman, or whoever she is? I don't want to assume gender nowadays, that's bad. But this person, I'm just going to say it's she, is saying that this will probably be better than what George was doing. In light, just under this blue highlighted area. Namely, the Acolyte will clearly be depicting how the Sith rose again. Why the Jedi were so susceptible to such a rise, and what took them so far away from the ideals of compassion and peace they were meant to uphold. That's a lot right there. So it will clearly depict how the Sith rose again. We kind of know why the Sith rose again. That's told in the prequel trilogy. Why the Jedi were ignorant to such a rise, which we are kind of told in the prequel trilogy. And what took them so far away from the ideas of compassion and peace they were meant to uphold. Now, does she realize what the Jedi are about? The Jedi were always compassion. They always, like, compassion is one of their, is a part of their code. And they didn't lose touch with compassion. And they didn't lose touch with peace. If this person understood the lore and watched the PT, they would know that the last resort for the Jedi in a conflict is taking up arms to protect. And this is why they took up arms in the first place, is that, like, negotiations weren't going through that they were trying to settle. That's in the PT. And, peaceful negotiations weren't being upheld. They couldn't come to any resolution for that. And the conflict kept going on. And the conflict kept escalating to where, assassinations on some of the senators, like, were enacted, and all of that, and the kidnapping of, of Jedi, and I mean, all of that you see all in, excuse me, the prequel trilogy. I'm sorry about that. That they had to take up arms, but does she not realize that the Sith studied the Jedi and knew this for a fact, that if they couldn't come to resolution and stuff, that they would take up arms for peace and resolution and stuff like that, if in worst case scenarios? So Palpatine applied this worst case scenario because they knew that they would fight for peace. That's why they train. That's why they train to use their lightsaber. All of that is if they needed to protect something through fighting, they would. Let me see what you guys have to say. Let me close this Twitter window. I keep on clicking on that one. Let me see here. Let's see. Disney Star Wars is not George Lucas's Star Wars, correct? Let me see here. Oh, geez. Was George Lucas involved in the Plagueis novel? Yes, he was. I think I talked about that earlier before you hopped on, but yes, he was. Shield of the Year. Who is the writer? Okay, you have this of this article. Let's see here. Let me go back up here. I know I revealed it already, but I'll reveal again. Liz DeClan, or whatever her name is. Let's see here. And let me see what you guys are saying, because I just want to. If you're delusional and you know it, clap your hands. Author of this article. Let's see. Are these Leslie's words or words of the article itself? Deeper, if not better. Let's see here. Disney has employed people who doesn't get Star Wars. Well, if you read the interview of Leslie Headland, one of her writers, she specifically made sure that the writer wasn't a fan. Yep. There you go. So there you go. The rule of two goes back thousands of years. Correct. There have been two Sith all the time, the master and the apprentice. Correct. Let's see here. And the Sith will rise again. Yeehaw. Yeehaw. Star Wars is Star Wars, whether it's George Lucas or somebody else's. No, not really. Star Wars is true. Star Wars was made under its creator. And then those, after it's sold out, it's just in name only. But to see is here. Light and Dark sounds like the sequels. Yeah, as it should. What's the surprise? They got rid of previous lore with the buy of Lucasfilm. They said it. What's the surprise? There's no surprise. We're pointing out facts. And hello to you, who plainly doesn't understand the prequel trilogy. How are you doing? All right. Let's see here. Let's go on. Namely, the Acolyte will clearly be depicting how the Sith rose again. Oh yeah, I already read those ones. That's right. I was backtracking. So here we go. So the Acolyte already looks better than the Star Wars prequels. So based upon the trailer, what is seen, she thinks that it looks better than the prequels. And my thumbnail has a clip from the PT and a clip from the Acolyte, so you guys can compare and contrast with that. There's plenty of love about Star Wars prequel trilogy. Nostalgia aside, they received unnecessary hate when they were released. So we're going to get into this again. So it was widely loved, but not liking a character or a certain line doesn't mean that it was widely or unnecessary hate, like as a whole. Because everybody can have like the best movie ever that they ever loved, like that's their top favorite movie. They could still pick out something they don't like about it, right? Having said that, some criticism of the movies is fair, while additional material such as novelizations of the movies and shows like Star Wars, The Clone Wars have continued to flesh out the prequel trilogy, making it more complete, comprehensible story. So again, do you think that The Clone Wars was necessary to flesh out the prequel trilogy? Did you understand the prequel trilogy? Because fleshing it out means that people don't understand it, right? Or could mean. George's focus was from the Clone Wars was just telling the story of the Clone Wars between the movies. It wasn't about fleshing out the prequel trilogy. is expanding on the Clone Wars within that certain time frame. That's what he wanted to tell. He didn't make it to flesh out the prequel trilogy whatsoever. And then it was supposed to be based specifically about the clones, not about Anakin and his turn and all that. So, but that's I'm repeating something that's already known. And then what Clone Wars was not made to comprehend the prequel story even more. You didn't really need the Clone Wars or any other EU material to comprehend what was going on in the prequel trilogy. It was all said and done there. That's why you have casual fans. They only like the movies and that's it. But they understood what was going on. And then EU fans or people who expanded on the Star Wars lore and history, they wanted to learn more. They want to learn, like, okay, within this time frame, what happened? Doesn't mean that, they're going back, oh, I'm reading this because I want to, like, the PT didn't make sense. It was incomprehensible. And I want to learn more because I wasn't quite understanding. If someone doesn't understand, then they're not going to continue to, watch the movie, let alone get into the EU material. There are gaps when looking at the movies alone. Many argue that Anakin's fall is too fast. Despite the 3 movies arc, the moments of evil, such as Anakin massacring the Tuscans, he was still conflicted and even leaning towards the Jedi's side when he found Mace Windu about was about to assassinate Palpatine. Let me read that again. Many argue that Anakin fall is too fast. Despite the 3 movies arc and moments of evil, such as Anakin's massacre of the Tuscans, he was still conflicted and even leaning towards the Jedi side when he found Mace Windu about to assassinate Palpatine. He was teetering on the dark side. He was like basically ready to cross that line because he wanted to save his wife, and he's seen that if the Chancellor was gone, then he will not have the opportunity. He was all about himself. Yes, was he still Jedi? Yes, he was. His conflict was, should I do the right thing or should I stay with my pride and my ego or whatever you want to call it, my stance, and use Sidious or use Palpatine. However, just a few. So that doesn't mean that was a quick fall whatsoever. We've seen over time the conflict, the manipulation from Palpatine. However, just a few moments later, he accepted his role as a Sith apprentice and was fine with wiping out innumerable Jedi, including children. We've seen his conflicts. We've seen him even before he went to the temple or went to the Senate Hall, to Palpatine's office. We've seen his conflict. He was sitting up in the council chambers in a very conflicted state. And at the same time, we've seen Padme, being confused with everything that was going on. And then he decides to take off. He was deciding his fate. He was already had one foot more into the dark side. Once he got over there, he walked through that door. And then from there, he pledged himself to, after everything was said and done, he pledged himself to be Sidious's apprentice. And then from there, to seal in his fate, he was responsible for Nightfall. That's not a quick fall right there. Not really. Because over time, like from Attack of the Clones, you see how conflicted he was. Let me see what you guys have to say about this one. Okay. I know you guys. Oh, wow. Okay, a lot of comments going on here. Let me see here. True Star Wars is made by the creator and approved by the creator and stuff. So Star Wars now is just in name only. The sequel trilogy is a abomination. Laugh out loud. Being LGBTQ isn't the problem. Making that your whole personality is the problem. And Headland is one dimensional like that. That's the thing. I don't care who you want to fuck, who you want to be in a relationship with. That's fine. Other than that, don't bring it into politics and stuff. Yeah, I'm a fan of the real original continuity and not of the stuff that's in name only. Let's see here. Yeah, TCW, I agree, is lame. No, I understood it perfectly. And yep, it did, Butcher. Let's see. TCW changes the prequels and not in a good way. TC did more harm than good. With the new characters like Ahsoka, Ventress, etc. I agree. Let me see here. They need to get rid of Filoni. 2003 Clone Wars is fire. The Jabronis TCW is trash. And this is all your guys' opinion. Over experience of growing up with Star Wars. Man, the person doesn't know what the heck they're talking about. And not everything needs to be explanation. Mystery is good. And that's why I love that George Lucas kept Yoda a mystery and his species. Nobody at Lucasfilm today knows anything about other than how to be a commie. Let's see. None of them know real Star Wars. Let's see here. What we need is the Old Republic. And then, right, not everything needs to be needs an explanation. Like Michael Myers, I don't need to know very much about him, and it's scarier that way. Yeah, you take the mystery out of like why, like everybody's like, what happened to this man, and blah 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 blah. So it keeps that there. Let's see here. They are picking and choosing from extended universe. Yeah, expanded universe. Yes, they are. While not everything needs explanation, I do love and appreciate all of the details given in the EU. Yeah, that's right. It's like expanding on, right? Expanding on, giving like more historical events. That's what it's about. The new continuity, that's an oxymoron. The new continuity, the new fake canon has no continuity. Darth Maul should have stayed dead. I agree. That's one thing. I didn't agree with that direction. Filoni Jabroni contradicts his own canon and continuity. Correct. So let's get back into this here. Okay. Many argue that Anakin's fault. Okay, I already read that one. The action sequences, sheer numbers of lightsabers, and stylization all point to an exciting narrative. So let's see what this is getting into. The Acolyte has revealed little so far, but so the Acolyte trailer reveals that, there's going to be a lot of conflict, a lot of fighting with the Sith here. And then Leslie Headland gives that hint as well because she likes martial arts. So she wants a lot of fighting, a lot of battles, I guess you could say. And the story is about the Sith. So who are the Jedi going to really fight? Well, the Sith. So the Acolyte has revealed little so far, but the trailer suggests that the show will be different in its thoroughly crafted story, beautiful visuals, and focus on the nature of the Jedi. Although scenes in the prequel trilogy depict younglings learning under Master Yoda, for example, the Acolyte trailer shows them deeply meditating, which excitingly suggests the show may offer a closer look at why the Jedi are the way of the Jedi. Moreover, the action sequences, sheer numbers of lightsabers, and stylization all point to an exciting narrative. So, did you have to see younglings sitting down to meditate to know that that was a part of the Jedi, is their meditation to focus with the Force? Did you really need to see that to put two and two together? Let me know. Let me know. Disney wants to make money from Star Wars, but don't have a clue what to do with it. They should have competition where fans send in screenplays and winner wins 1 million. Well, that's a big, broad thing. That's interesting there. But that goes to George. George basically allowed parodies and stuff like that and had awards for those who did the best parody and stuff. Let's see here. Lucas wanted Maul. Yeah. He wanted Maul brought back. Kind of. Kind of. Doesn't mean that we have to agree with it. Exactly. And Lucas wanted Ahsoka to die. What's your point? So I don't know if you're thinking that's a gotcha, Batusi, or whatever your name is, but it's not really. Disney wants to make money from Star Wars, but don't have a clue what to do with it. Yep. I know I read that already. Let's see here. And the Acolyte will make the Star Wars prequels better. Do you guys believe that? Do you think that Acolyte's going to make it better? You know, did Plagueis make the prequels better? Think about that. Did Darth Plagueis, did Cloak of Deception make the prequels better? Did the Clone Wars make prequels better? Point is, prequels can stand on their own without any of that stuff, without being expanded on, because they were already good story within themselves. They were very comprehensible. You can get the gist of the plot. You knew why Anakin was conflicted. You know why Anakin wanted to go to the dark side. You knew how hard it was for him to do that because he was going against his morals. Some of his morals. It's like he had, like, you pictured like the I'm just gonna go there, like the angel and the devil on your shoulders, and they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Then you go into what George says about like how the dark side's more seductive and easy and all of this stuff, while the light side is, you know, you have to, it's a harder thing to maintain and it takes a lot of discipline and stuff like that. So with him and his choices and stuff, he was seduced and manipulated to go dark, and using the people he loves was a tactic that Palpatine used to manipulate him. And the power was easier for him. Doesn't mean that it was stronger. It just means that the lure was easy, is seductive, all of that. What Disney should have done to employ Lucas as an executive advisor. At one point, he stayed within a year after the buyout to help Kennedy, really acclimate to her responsibility as the president, and then and give insight about, planning for the coming movies and stuff like that. But as we know, they didn't use anything that George suggested and given them. And that was even expanded on by Iger, Kennedy even expanded on that, JJ even expanded on that, and George too. So he's like, they don't need me. And it's like, going and visiting someone you divorced, basically, is what he compared it to. So he just stepped away. He's like, I had enough. It's not my Star Wars anymore. He even said it's not his Star Wars anymore. And it's not his vision and all this other stuff. Exactly. They can stand alone. I agree. Let me see here. Mr. Weinstein, your 2 a.m. is here. Oh my God. I'm not going to get into all this other stuff here. Let me see. I think I read that one already. Yeah. Let me see here. Let's get to this part here. While the Jedi Order, particularly the Council, did plenty wrong. So what was particularly plenty wrong that the Order did? The Acolyte can absolve them from their sins. Okay, so the Acolyte's going to set up their failure, but then it's going to absolve them from their sins. I don't think she knows what she's talking about. In part, they will happen naturally. Certain Jedi are old enough that they will also have been present during the time of the Acolyte, Yoda most notably, but many Jedi shown in the prequel trilogy inherited these problems. That the Jedi were blind to the rise of the Sith threat, rigid. So they didn't even know there was a threat until the prequel trilogy, until the Phantom Menace. So being blind to it suggests that they know and that they're just not paying attention to it. They're not giving it any attention. And then rigid in their rules and lacking empathy and compassion in many situations. I never seen the Jedi not seem like they lacked empathy or compassion in the prequel trilogy. In fact, they had a lot of compassion and empathy. It was deciding how they should go about things and how they should what their stance should be in this rise of the Sith. And their empathy and compassion was also towards the galaxy, because when the Sith came back, they want control and power over the galaxy. That's something that has been established about the Sith. And so the compassion and empathy of the galaxy is the reason why they wanted the Sith to be defeated. And then she goes on to say, had to have been symptoms of systematic problems. So let me see what you guys are saying here. Let's see here. There they go again, trying to fix the PT like they said they were doing with the ST, correct? And let's see here. The Jedi should have done is to employ Lucas, right? I already read that one here. And yes, smash the like button. Let's see here. While the Jedi Order, particularly the Council, certainly did plenty wrong, the Acolyte could absolve them from their sins. So, like I said, that's kind of, she's contradicting herself again. But I don't know. In that sense, the Acolyte will improve the prequels by showing the Jedi in a kinder light. So the Jedi weren't kind in the PT. This will also bleed into representation of Anakin. Oh boy, how is this gonna? This is like 100 years before Anakin was even born. Maybe a little bit less, but anyways. It's easy to read Anakin as one major problem in the otherwise good order. Anakin's a major problem? But in reality, it isn't that simple. Many people within the Jedi Order let Anakin down. Oh my God, she's misinterpreting what was going on with Anakin and how he was being manipulated. So he thought that they were letting him down. It was the fucking influence of Palpatine manipulating him, causing the problems, and then Anakin allowing his pride of being the chosen one get the better of him. And while his actions were wrong, his struggles, like the Jedi Councils in the prequel movies, were not entirely his own. Let me see. His struggles, like the Jedi Councils in the prequel movie, were not entirely his own. His struggles are basically his own. He's caused his problem here. He was responsible for his actions throughout the whole damn trilogy. Mind you, he was being influenced and manipulated. So that's one thing. He was a victim of Palpatine, just like everybody else was a victim of Palpatine. Oh my God. Let me see here. Let me see what you guys. Then this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the type of fans that Disney Star Wars is catering to. They want the Jedi to be these crooked individuals that made Anakin's life hell, that he rebelled because of them, not realizing that. And then now the Sith are good. And this is another thing that Leslie Headland said, that she's focusing on basically the Sith were really the good ones in this, and the Jedi were really the bad. Let me see here. Don't fix what isn't broken. That's their problem. They think everything they don't like is broken. The PT is broken. Stop messing with it, you losers. And so Palpatine's manipulation worked on her too, correct? And that's a lot of like even like my conversations on Twitter, it's like they some of these individuals who are defending this acolyte are basically sounding like they were manipulated by Palpatine too, like they were, brainwashed and stuff like that. Like they believed Palpatine's speech about the Jedi once he declared that the Old Republic is now the Galactic Empire and that he is now the Emperor. So oh my God. Let me see. Acolyte will have Yoda and Plagueis. It will ruin them both. Yeah, that's another thing. Be ready for, continue ruination of Yoda. They've already done that to him in the High Republic and stuff, and other material too that I've pointed out before here on my channel for CAF Chat in Cringe Factor. We've already went through a lot of material for Cringe Factor and how they're ruining Yoda and how he is, and how he is being now perceived is in a bad light. Red Hoodwink says, I think this is TCW's fault. Filoni never liked the Jedi, and it shows in the shows. Correct. Let me see here. Darth Plagueis, a trans woman. Sith just wanted revenge for what happened after the Great Hyperspace War. They were victims here. There you go. That's it. Oh my God, we're going past the 2 hours. All right. So Gordon says the shroud of the dark side has fallen, Yoda, right? And that's when it happened, is during the PT, not before. The Sith basically just kept themselves hidden in the Force and worked and hidden in plain sight. No one suspected Tenebrous was a Sith. No one suspected Plagueis was a Sith, and no one suspected that Palpatine was a Sith, because they weren't giving that away until the time was right. And the time wasn't right before the Phantom Menace. That's what I'm telling. That's my point here. That's my whole point here, is that the time was right when it was presented in the Phantom Menace, not beforehand. And that was eluded in Darth Plagueis novel as well. If you want to learn a true, accurate way of how to present the Sith rising, go look at those materials. Even Cloak of Deception, go look at those materials pre-Disney, which had to keep continuity. Even Headline admits that she didn't have to keep continuity in her interview. So that's another thing. And we have Org here. Howdy everyone. This has been going on for at least an hour, but notification despite hitting the bell of for all content, shake my head. Luckily, I stumbled over the stream randomly. Well, more than likely, CAF Chat happens at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So wherever you're at, go ahead and convert that to your time frame and just put that on your phone or your notifications on your phone so that you know. But other than that, I'm glad you're happy to join in. We're going to get ready to start closing out. So I'm sorry that you came in late, but rewinding and catching the replay is what you can do as well. And I don't mind that as well. Rather, I've loved to have you live here with us in the chat, but if you're catching the replay, thank you so much. All right. So Gordon McDonald says, if what you tell me is true, then our worst fears have been realized. Mace Windu, correct. Oh, I'm sorry. Ogre. All right, let's go ahead and finish this up. Let me see, did I read it? Oh, that is the end of it. So particularly because the Acolyte will in part set up then lead into the prequel trilogy era, it will no doubt further flesh out the story, those stories and the context for the time, inevitably improving them. So here you guys go. Let me know what you guys feel about this article here, and what you feel about people's perception of what's going on. Does the prequel need to be fixed? Does it need this kind of material to make it better? And I think we already came to the same conclusion. No, it does not. No, it does not. So there you go. So whatever you feel about what's going on with the state of Star Wars, where you're at with Star Wars, enjoy what you love. And if that's George Lucas era, the true original Star Wars era, that's good. That should be enough for you. But the mission here with me is comparing and contrast between the original and Disney lore and pointing out these inconsistencies. And yes, I've pointed out inconsistencies in the original lore. And sharing the direction that they're going with this property. Is it honoring George Lucas and his vision that he created pre-Disney? Not really. They even said that they wanted to, toss away the EU to create a quote-unquote clean slate for creative freedom. They also said that they were going to cherry pick, which is not favorable to longtime fans that kept this property alive by purchasing and participating and indulging in, the EU material that kept the property alive between the movies, between the shows that were created pre-Disney. So is it honoring us, longtime fans? Not really. It's like putting salt in, it's like peeling off the Band-Aid and putting salt in the wound every time, I guess you could say. And then people are like, well, just get over it. You should be over it by now. But every time something like this is revisited and they're saying they're using this material to correct what came before, why should we get rid of it when we can point out the inconsistencies from them saying, oh, we're correcting this and that, which they're not. And they're making their property even worse by not keeping continuity. I sense a plot to destroy the older fan base. And that's exactly what was going on and that what they revealed when they realized that the Sith return. I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi. So there you go. So thank you guys again for tuning in. If you want to learn more about like what Tim thinks about, because I had Greg on yesterday and we talked about the press release of George Lucas and the shareholder vote that's coming up. But if you want to learn more about what Tim thinks about that, check out the spacing tomorrow night, 8:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be there in the chat. You guys probably know how I feel about it. And then Tim or Greg, hopefully Blake will be able to share in the chat if he even cares. If he even cares whatsoever. I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't, but he might have still an opinion or a thought about it, which everybody should have. Do we have to all agree on the same things? No, we don't. We don't have to agree on our own, on everything, like even including George's, statement about the shareholder, panel vote coming up. And that's fine. That's fine. But I will see you guys maybe in the chat tonight for Raging Rhino, Casual Rage. Maybe he probably will. He's definitely going to give his opinion because that's part of his title for his show. So check that out. And I don't recall the time on there. So just go over there, click the reminder so that you can get a notification or at least get the time on there and set your own personal alarm to check out the live stream there. I'll see you there as well. And thank you again for Soul Assassin for coming in and modding. Thank you so much. I appreciate you every single week. And every time I go live, even on random, like spontaneous live streams that I've been doing lately. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone from the subscriber to the channel member as well. And if you're catching the replay, thank you for coming in and listening. Leave your comment, hit the like button. And most of all, if you can, Raging Cajun Rhino, if you can become a channel member, that's greatly appreciated as well. So until we talk again, until we sit down and nerd on George Lucas era Star Wars, and cringe factor stuff, I will see you on social media. And as always, if you have questions, just find me on Twitter and, and we can engage on that and stuff. And I shall talk to you guys later. Have a good day. May the force be with you.
Another happy landing.